Right, tackling the fuel tank next. That's generally not too bad. Made a start on this side. Just going over it with the angry wire wheel on the angle grinder. Getting all that loose stuff off. And then that'll get a coat of the rust encapsulator. And I've got some black direct-to-metal paint from Buzzweld coming. I normally, well, recently been using the Hammerite stuff, and I think, you know, cost cutting and generally, you know, stuff like that, Hammerite have gone downhill a little bit. The paint seems to be quite thin now, and I read somewhere that you're getting 100 ml of product in 300 ml of propellant in an aerosol. So going to try and move away from that and give the Buzzweld stuff a try. I've got these brackets, these black brackets, ignore the silver things. Those brackets, that bracket, the backing plates, the bases of these, and over here the actual bearing carriers. They're all going to get done in the Buzzweld direct to metal paint, which is like a semi satin gloss type of finish. So we'll give that a try and see how that comes out. Other bits of, I've been doing these. These were done in red Hammerite because I had some, so they've had a coat of paint. And a few more bits inside here. The panel bar and anti-roll bar, and the panel bar's got new bushes pushed into it now. But these, like, I've probably had about 3 or 4 cans of the Hammerite on, just because you really don't get a lot in a can, and it just does not cover like it used to. So right, let's crack on and get that fuel tank sorted. I'll bring you back when I've got some progress. This is my sketchy spray setup. Just making do with what I have and the space I have. I've just got the first coat of the rust encapsulator on the fuel tank. I had a few repairs, probably doesn't show up on here. When I was wire wheeling and needle scaling the rust off, getting it ready for paint, we had a few pinprick holes, so filled those with some you know, epoxy steel stuff. 2-part, mix it up and put it on. Sets as hard as steel apparently. I didn't use a petrol diesel specific one, I just used the normal epoxy steel, and wasn't sure if it would react with the fuel, so I left it for like probably about a week sitting on its side, because there's a little bit of fuel in this tank, and just to see if it would react and leak through, which it didn't. So I'm happy that's gonna be okay. It was only a tiny couple of little pinprick holes, but obviously the cost of fuel, you want to try and keep it in the tank. So that's had a couple of coats now, and that's just going to dry up, and then that will get top coated with the Buzzweld direct to metal semi sort of satin gloss black, and that should look quite nice and tidy. Got a few other little bits I'm still spraying and painting up, so I'll film those as I go. Getting some more bits painted. These are the backing plates and sort of wheel bearing hubs and anti-roll bar brackets and handbrake lever brackets. They were painted in the rust encapsulator first, with the exception of those and those, which had sort of that standard black paint that new parts have when they come, which is not very good, but it serves as a base. So then they were all sprayed with the Buzzweld direct to metal paint, which is sort of a semi satin gloss black, which is fairly accurate. And I used the sort of like the Hilux gun to spray it on, and it gives it a very similar sort of texture to the Raptor liner on the axle. So I'm pleased with that. So I've just greased up the inside of these, stop them rusting, and then we'll get the new bearings in and dust seals. And today's job is to paint the fuel tank in the same stuff. That's now had 2 coats of the rust encapsulator. That's been dried for a couple of days. Looking rather splendid. And I also painted with the direct to metal the back of the axle shafts, so they're all good. So it's a similar texture to the Raptor liner when you do it with the Hilux gun. So that's the direct to metal, and that's the Raptor. The Raptor's a bit more knobbly, but I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to get set up, and then we'll start spraying the black direct to metal on here. Again, that will have a couple of coats. first coat applied. We'll let that dry up for about 20 minutes or so, maybe half an hour, and then we'll stick another coat on. I love spraying with the, I say it's a Schutz gun, it's basically a, you know, an PCL's own version with an adjustable nozzle, and see, I can dial that nozzle in, you know, if I want it to be more textured and splatter on, I can open that nozzle up, but I've got it sort of quite wound in, so it's quite a fine spray. I say fine for a Schutz gun. It leaves a really nice finish, and it's super quick as well. So we'll let that dry and then give it another coat soon. Here we go, that's the second coat done. It's probably dry now, it's been about an hour or so. And a little bracket that I had to do as well.